you still doing awake? I thought you'd be passed out by now. Oh, so you can't sleep. Well, lucky for you, girlie, I have something for you. I don't know what they call it. ASMR. ASM, autonomous sensory meridian response, I think. I get stuck on the meridian or whatever you call it. But yes, I understand everything else. So I have a couple items for you. I just thought it could help you, you know. So first, as you know, we got a really cool sword. Huh. I guess I'm supposed to tap on it and stuff. This isn't the metal one. Too bad I don't have a microphone. Well, I'm bored. That's enough. So, what do we have now? Oh yeah, this dog cleaner. Because you know our dog's like shitting on the fucking floor. Nasty. Ugh, got some on my finger. It doesn't make any water sounds. Fucking Muda. Oh yeah, I stole my brother's phone. Don't tell. Oh, my dick. I guess you must like it, but I don't, so we're moving on. This is going by sort of fast. As we got our dog's pills, because he's been shitting a lot. Oh yeah, that's the good stuff. Alright, what should we go for next? Oh yeah, got me a pair of brass knuckles. Of course, I can't take them out the house, but I keep them here just for display. I'm bored. Let's move on. Alright. So I got some deodorant because, you won't love me if I don't smell good. Old Spice and Gillette is always my favorite. What is that? Now my hands smell like deodorant. Let's move on, shall we? Alright. So here we have an iPhone box with some batteries and a coin inside, I guess. I trimmed my nails so it kind of hurts. I'm moving on, I'm bored again. Okay. So I got a different variety of brushes, because clearly one isn't enough, right? We got a hardened brush. This one hurts. It's our first brush. Now we have our combs. Our second razor comb. Oh, I got a good brush. Well, that's the end of that brush. Oh yeah, I have one more item for you. This is my journal where I write stories. They're not very good ones, and you'll probably not like them. They're a little scary. Here, have a listen. I'll show you the sounds and I'll tell you a story. It may or may not creep you out. You may either go fast asleep, or you're going to be pissing your pants and shitting your pants for weeks. I'm just messing. It shouldn't hurt you that bad. Oh, fuck yeah. That's the good shit. So smooth. Alright. Now, time for a story. It's a little rusty. Which chapter? Well, this one. I am very fond of this one. This one is called The Cheater. How would you like me to narrate? Would you like normal, whisper, or would you like a little more change in variety? I'm a big fan of changing my voice from this into this. Alright, baby, let me tell you a story. There once was a man who lived with a woman in a not too big house. The man worked as a cashier, the woman as a bartender. Both not very high-paying jobs, but they made it through. Their names were John and Deborah. Not the most likely. They pulled through. Then you have, man, what should I call these people? What did I call them? John and Deborah? Yeah, John and Deborah were the first people. Brian and Becca, however, let me tell you one thing. They weren't the most successful like John and Deborah. You see, Brian and Becca struggled a lot. You see, Brian was a janitor who mostly cleaned toilets, while Becca, on the other hand, had to resort to prostitution. Now, we won't talk about that. It'll probably get age restricted. Now, let's change it up. She wasn't that. She was an exotic dancer. Let's call it that. Let me turn the next page. Don't know if you heard it. They didn't have as much as John and Deborah. John and Deborah were blessed. They weren't the most blessed. Then you have Scott. We're gonna call him Scott. And his wife's name will be... Let me find it. Yes, Lauren. Scott and Lauren were fucking shit eaters. They were pigs. They were rich. They were blessed and rubbed their wealth in everyone's faces. Didn't go well for them. Trust me. They bragged about their wealth all around town. Was flexing on their Instagram, their Facebook, their Twitter, Snapchat, you believe it. It was like Lil Tay. You see, John and Deborah and Brian and Becca, they didn't really like Scott. Shit, what'd I call her again? What'd I call her? That Lauren. Scott and Lauren. You see, Lauren was a model. She starred in tons of movies. And she had lots of fun with her roles, because they played rich people who looked down on the poor and always won. Like a shit-eating pig that she was. Then, Scott? He was a businessman. A very good one. Not that he could run a business, but he used it to sell out other companies. He used his clients. He uses his workers. He uses his company as one big major sale. Guess what? No one liked them. So you know what happened to Scott and Lauren? They got assassinated. Yeah. Someone who wanted their heads. Lauren was found dead in the bath with a gruesome murder scene I can't even describe. Scott was pinned down on the dining room table by his neck. This is gonna get age restricted so fucking fast. No. Continuing. Scott had been stripped with a gag in his mouth. And you know what that symbolized? The rich need to be nice to the poor and spread their wealth. All the rich people would be poor if they were actually giving away their money. Then there was John and Deborah. Deborah, the exotic dancer, got intimate with a lot of men as her job. It started simple. Then these emotions turned into cheating, quarreling, lying, and betrayal. And eventually, John found out. Was John happy about what he heard? About his dear old Deborah cheating on him? He spiked drinks, took tips, and stole from other people while they were taken advantage of. He wasn't an ideal person either. So what he did is when he caught her, he killed her. He stabbed her 55 times in the stomach, ripped open her carcass, spilled her guts all over the floor, and pinned her to the wall with a knife and some chain, putting her on display like a Christmas decoration. Him, he took his life because he couldn't deal with the consequences of his actions. What did we learn here? Even the most loyal people can have problems at their work, and if they're not faithful to one another, shit can go downwards. And then there's Brian and Becca. You see, they weren't the most ideal people, but they loved each other very much. And nothing happened to them until 3 years later, after both of the gruesome murders of Brian and of John and Deborah, and Lauren and Scott were on the news. They were so thankful that they still had each other. Becca, she was robbed by a poor man. They were both poor, and she was willing to share the riches of... She didn't have much riches, but was willing to share with the man. The man was greedy and killed her. Meanwhile, Brian was blamed for the murder and was sentenced to execution by hanging in the poor district of the town. What did that teach us? That being poor means you can sometimes get closer to people, but there are other poor people who turn down your generosity with their greed, take advantage of you. Even though you've lost it all, you still have something to give to those people, even though they've taken everything from you. And that, my friend, is a true kind heart. I'm glad I gave you some tingles and told you a story about the high classes of people. Good night, my love. If you get scared, you can just cling on to me. I love you. Get some sleep, why don't you? If you can get any. Just remember, I'm here to protect you. Just remember that always.